By the end of this video, you'll learn how to play smarter, win more, and actually improve in Madden 26. Now, who am I to tell you all of this? Well, my name's Swolosimo, and I've made thousands of dollars competing, coached hundreds of players, beaten some of the best pros in the world, and even have tips on the official EA website. So what you're about to see are real concepts that work even at the highest level. And you don't want to miss any of the later tips because they're absolutely insane. Starting off with the most important tip of all, pass protection. Because if you're getting screamed at by a blitz, you don't even have a chance. The good news is there are 3 simple techniques that block every blitz in the game. The first and probably best pass protection you could use is base pro untarget. So the first thing you're going to do is base pro by pressing left bumper and down on the left stick, and you're going to untarget someone who you do not expect to blitz. So flick up on the right stick. In this case, this is a looping blitz. So I just watched the defense grab this player and move him over. So he's the looper. You definitely don't want to untarget him. Okay, well, this guy's likely not blitz because he's probably their user. And it's going to be pretty obvious in game. You'll see their user move over here. You'll see their user move up and around. You'll know, okay, that's their user. And against dollar sets like this, all you're going to do is flick up on the right stick and untarget their user. And what you're going to notice is this is going to do a great job at picking up the loop blitz. You're going to have a lot of time in the pocket to make really whatever read you want. This technique also applies to almost every overload blitz in the game. So take, for example, this mid blitz play where someone grabs a linebacker and hovers over the center, pretty much overloading one side of the field, in this case, the left side of the field. But what this usually means is they're not going to send the player on the right because they're overloading the left. So if I just leave it as is, we're going to get screamed at, right? Someone's going to come off the edge, someone's going to sack our quarterback. But when we use the base pro on target, you're going to notice that this is actually going to do a great job of picking up the blitz. So I'm going to base pro, and I'm going to untarget this player on the right. And what you're going to notice is everyone kind of transfers over to the left properly, everyone makes their block, and you have enough time in the pocket to go and make a read while still sending 5 out. So that's the base pro on target. I use this versus almost every blitz in the game. Now this next protection is for the Texas foreman, or basically any defensive line stun someone could use against you online. And instead of using base pro, because base pro gets fried, you're actually going to use empty protection. And this is usually set up by default if you haven't already set it in your coaching adjustments. What you're going to do here, if it's not set up, is press the left bumper and up on the left stick. That'll give you empty protection. Then what you're going to do is untarget, once again, who you're not expecting to blitz. If they're stunting, the whole defensive line is blitzing. So you can untarget almost both linebackers here. And you're going to know that they're not blitzing, so the offensive line can focus on the Texas stunt. What you're going to see is everyone gets picked up completely clean in this Texas stunt, and we're actually able to roll out as well, something you can do very consistently. So what happens here is the offensive line ignores the deeper linebackers, and they make sure they pick up the stunters, right? And that'll pretty much pick up any defensive line stunt in the game for you. Just empty protection and untarget who you do not expect to blitz. Now, if you're playing a heavy blitz where they're sending 6 people, all you're gonna do is just block your running back. It really is that simple. You have 6 people blocking, 6 blitzers. Everyone's going to get picked up. You're going to have enough time to make a read, but nonetheless, of course, they could still shed you. So you definitely still want to make a quick read. But yeah, just block your running back, and you're going to do a great job at blocking send 6 blitzes. And because they have less people in coverage, as long as you make a quick read, you're going to get a pretty big play as well. So that concludes the pass protection section. We got base pro on target, empty pro on target, and very, very simple, just block your running back. And that'll block literally every blitz in the game. What's even better than blocking pressure is using a rollout against every defense in the game. So I'm gonna show you my secret rollout technique I've never released before that beats any look you face. So we're starting off with 3 down linemen, and it works against basically everything, but we're gonna start with this. All we're going to do is full slide in the direction that we want to roll out to, and then untarget the furthest outside blitzer. So left bumper and then left stick to the right. So we're gonna roll out to the right, and then untarget up on the right stick, identify the furthest outside blitzer, and then press X or A on him, right? That simple. And they're gonna push this blitzer inside, making it pretty much impossible for him to catch up to our quarterback, and we can guarantee 5-6 yards. Now that's not even the best use case. The best use case is actually passing when you're rolling out. But let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Let's say they contain, right? And I'll actually set up a good, pass for this. Let's say you want to throw a rollout corner like this. I'm going to full slide my protection to the right. I'm going to untarget this defensive end. And even though he's in a contain, he's still going to get pushed inside, lose leverage, and you can see we basically have unlimited time to go throw that corner route. So that's all you have to do to roll out on 3 down linemen. Now, if you're playing 4 down linemen, it's also extremely easy. Just full slide in the direction you want to roll out to, untarget the furthest outside player. And what you're going to notice is they're going to push that player inside, he's going to lose leverage, and you're going to have all of this space to roll out. It truly is that simple. Full slide, untarget, and just roll out. And you're going to see he gets pushed inside, and he's just not able to catch up to our quarterback. Whether he's in a contain, whether he's not in a contain, take a look. Just put a contain on, you're going to see, once again, full slide, untarget, and we're going to be able to just roll around him. He's going to get pushed inside. Sometimes he even gets stuck inside, and we're able to roll out with ease. Like, it's the easiest thing ever. Now, for rolling out against a blitz, you need to make one more adjustment. Simply block your running back to start, and then full slide, and then untarget. That simple. And what you're going to see is that player is going to get pushed inside, and you're going to have enough time to maybe not rush for a few yards, but you're at least going to be able to get that extra time in the pocket to go throw a pass that gets open. So, for example, let's say they're set up in a cover 3, and they're sending everyone at you. You're actually not only going to be able to pick up this blitz, but you're also going to be able to throw a pass on it, right? And roll out and get time for it. So block your running back, full slide in that direction, untarget. He pushes this player inside, and you can see we have enough time to roll out and hit pretty much whichever pass we want to throw. It really is that simple. So when you're facing a blitz, just block your running back and do the exact same thing we have been doing. When it comes to defense, there's one thing that sits above the rest for getting good, and that's your switch stick, because it can single-handedly win you games. So I'm going to show you 3 foolproof techniques to up your switch stick game. The first technique I'm going to show you is the side switch. But before I get into that, we're going to talk about some little basics of switch stick. Number 1, to switch stick, all you have to do is during the play, you're just going to flick the right stick in the direction of the player you want to switch to based on where you currently are. So for example, if I wanted to go and switch to this hard flat, I'd flick the right stick to the right, just like that, right? It's a really basic technique, but to master it, you have to know what you're doing, and that's why we have these techniques. Now, the other thing I like to mention is that it is the absolute best from a cover 4 defense because you have so much over-the-top help. You can switch to one of the quarters knowing you have another player in a deep zone that can probably recover for you. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into the first technique, the side switch, and you're probably already doing it. When opponents are using corner routes, right? You are often going to want to switch to your flat zone and either come down to guard the flat, or in another case, so you can see the flat was completely guarded there, you can actually go and play up to go and guard this corner route. And that'll usually be really, really good for you, and a lot of people will throw picks against that. But the problem with that is that, well, if you go and switch to this, hard flat zone and you pull up, you are leaving the flat wide open, and they can get, 7-8 yards basically for free. And that gets into the second technique, which I like to call the double switch, which is a better way of guarding corner routes, but it's a little bit more high risk. So what I do here is I'll switch to the flat zone, and then I'll also switch to the deep outside quarter to go and guard the corner out. So when you go on instant replay here, what you can actually see is that not only is this flat well guarded, but so is this corner out because we're switching here. And then because we're in a cover 4, we don't have to worry because the inside quarter is guarding the streak route, right? So that's really, really nice. Now, some people are crazy. They'll go and switch to this player, and then switch back to this player to go guard the in route. But that is, once again, really, really advanced, right? Almost lost my voice there. But then we have the last technique, and this technique is also quite basic, but it is a high risk technique. So let's say you're playing someone who's running, let's say, this PA snag combo. And the most common route that they're going to throw here is probably the drag, but the best route is this post route, and you want to make sure that it's guarded. So what I recommend you do is just kind of sit in this area, maybe guard this drag, but then switch to this inside quarter and go and play this post route, right? And you can see, once again, you have so much over the top help, let's say on the other side, that any really streak is guarded. And then on this side we have flats because we're in a cover 4, and then all we did is just take one of these quarters and come down, and we're going to go and intercept this post route if they were to throw it. So those are the 3 switch stick techniques you absolutely want to know, and you want to get good at recognizing route combos. Usually, I want to say about 80% of the route combos in the game is a corner and a streak with a flat or a post route, right? And if you can guard those, you're going to get yourself a lot of interceptions. Before we jump into the rest of these must-watch tips, let me tell you about the resource that top players are using to stay months ahead in Madden 26. And that resource is victoryformation.gg, currently home to 7 complete game plans and 60 plus elite tips. Not to mention that our members are consistently dominating online, crushing their league competition, and even winning hundreds of dollars in tournaments. So if you're ready to join the winning team, you can get your first month for only $11.95 using code SWOLO. To truly become elite, you need to pass well, and that starts with creating effective route combos. Most players run chaotic combos that overlap, break spacing, and leave almost no clean windows for the quarterback. So I'm going to break down the core principles behind creating elite route combos you can rely on every single game. Now, a lot goes into creating unguardable route combos, but I'm going to try to boil it down to a couple tips you can remember. The first one is spacing and timing. You have to consider the spacing and timing of your route combo. So something like this isn't great. You have way too many routes running into each other, and with only a couple zones, they can take away your bread and butter in this route combo. Or at least you're gonna have to settle for 2 or 3 yards. But to make it a lot better, what you can do is space the routes better. So what you can actually set up is something like this, where you have a deep in route and 2 drags, rather a drag and a running back in route. And in this case, they go to cover the lower routes, leaving the in wide open because you had such great spacing. And then on top of that, the next concept is just pull routes. You have to use pull routes because what they allow you to do is throw routes that previously will never get open. So for example, if I put a drag route on the field with nothing on the left and they have a hard flat, I'm just running that drag into the hard flat, and their hard flat's gonna play that, knock the ball out, or maybe get an interception. But if I pair that with a table route, take a look at the difference here. You're actually going to see that the table route will pull the hard flat outside, allowing us to throw the drag in this very, very big window over the middle. Now, the best pull route in the game by far is the slot fade. Now, the reason the slot fade is so good is because even from the most compressed sets in the game, it will pull deep outside zones, allowing you to throw routes wide open beneath those deep outside zones. And then the other benefit is it counters switch stick extremely well. So if someone were to try to switch stick against you and play your underneath route, because they see, oh, you have a slot fade, you're trying to pull, and then you pull down like this, they're actually giving up a 1-play touchdown to the slot fade, right? So really what great route combos boil down to in Madden 26 is great spacing, great timing, and effective pull routes, making other routes way more open. Arguably, the most important aspect of defense is your coverage. And to create elite coverage, you need to be using zone drops and custom zones. These mechanics allow you to adjust any zone's depth, which gives you the ability to have both high and low zones to bag any route combo. So I'm gonna show you exactly how to set this up. The first part of this setup is in the play call menu, where you can go to your coaching adjustments, pressing down on the right stick, and opening up your zone drops. So you can see zone drops are at default right now, but we can actually custom set them to how deep they'll actually play. So if you want your curl flats to play really low, you can set them to 0. But the most common way that people set their zone drops is they run their curl flats at 20, only utilizing them to stop deep sideline routes. Now, some people also zone drop their hooks, but there's different ways you can just shade them, and I'll show you that in a moment. Now, what's really nice about having deep curl flats is it allows you to Mabel one side of the field when using zone drops. So what you can do is just put a hard flat on this side of the field, and what you're gonna notice is if someone runs a route combo that looks something like this, very basic, and people use this a lot, you're actually going to be able to cover the drag, the corner, and the slot fade all in one, simply because you're using zone drops in pre-play. But let's say someone's using something that you're not really expecting, or rather you want to have a deep curl flat on the right and a shorter curl flat on the left. So maybe you don't want to Mabel the left, but you don't want a hard flat. You want them to sit at about 10 yards. This is where custom zones comes in. So what I like to do is, once again, double tap triangle, press triangle again because we're doing the slot corner, hold the left bumper, and that'll allow custom zone, and then D-pad down 2 times. So let's say it's at 20 and I want it to play at 10, twice, right? Because each time you press the D-pad represents 5 yards. So now we have a deep curl flat on the right and a middle tier curl flat on the left. So we still have this amazing Mabel on the right, but we're also not exactly giving up anything crazy on the left. So you can see the curl flat is still sitting in a proper depth for us and not giving up, corner routes and things like that. So that's how you use zone drops and custom zones, and a basic example to do it. But one thing I also really like to mention is how shading plays into this. So if you shade underneath, it plays hard flats. To shade underneath, you press triangle or Y. Underneath is down on the right stick, over top is up on the right stick. Now hard flats we don't have set right now, but we can. We can actually custom set a hard flat. Maybe on the strong side, we want the hard flat to play deeper. So triangle twice, X in this case, because that's where the slot corner is, and then up. So now the hard flat's playing at 10. But the shading actually plays a really big difference on your hook zones if you have them set at default. So if you shade underneath, your hook zones are gonna play at 5 yards. So if they run an in route over the middle, your hook zones are gonna be all over that, right? So that's why I don't really zone drop my hook zones or custom zone them, because I know if I shade underneath, they'll play low. And if I want them to play over top, I can actually just shade over top and then individually adjust my flat zones. So what you're gonna see is a shaded over the top hook curl is going to go and play super, super deep and cover really whatever routes you need them to cover in that deep part of the field. So they set it about 15 yards. So this is how you utilize custom zones, zone drops, and zone shading to create some pretty insane coverages. The absolute best way to play coverage, if you know what you're doing, is using match. So in this section, I will be covering how to bag both 3x1 and 2x2 sets. The most important thing you need to know when setting up match is to make sure that your zone drops are set to default. You have to do that first before running any sort of match shell. And then I do like running my safety depth at pinch and close. I think it just makes the inside quarters match a little bit better and a little bit quicker. So that's a personal preference. You don't have to do that. And then I'm just gonna select cover 4 quarters because I absolutely love it against 3x1 sets. And I also like it versus 2x2, which we'll cover in a moment. But the way to set this up is to very, very simply man up the strong side safety to the middle receiver on the 3x1 side. That's just because I think the inside quarter matches a lot, or rather the man coverage plays a lot better than the inside quarter on the strong side. So man coverage just acts quicker and it's just all around better. But the reason I say it absolutely cages, and the reason I say it's the absolute best way to play coverage if you know what you're doing, is because it stops route combos. It stops a variety of route combos with one setup. So for example, a lot of people like this route combo in general. They have a drag, they have a table, they have a return, they have a crosser. It's a great route combo against zone. It's great versus man. But match actually does a really good job at covering it. You're gonna see, we're able to cover this route combo completely. Everyone gets matched. And then you're like, okay, well, how does it do versus other route combos? Well, the other most common route combo people use in 3x1 looks something like this. They have a corner route, a slot fade, a streak, and they all attack that one side of the field. So what you're actually going to do is set up the same thing. And despite it being the same setup, it can guard a completely different route combo. So what you're gonna see is when I snap this ball, everything on this play gets matched and everything is completely caged. So that's why match coverage, even when you don't know exactly what they're running, is so good versus 3x1. It takes away a variety of route combos and even their best route combos. Now when playing double sets, it's kind of similar in setup. What I actually like to do is simply man up the tight end. He's kind of the middle receiver in a way on the strong side of the field. That's all I'm gonna do, man up the tight end, and you could leave the match pretty much default from there, right? What you're gonna notice is if they run a very common route combo, maybe something like this, as long as you're relatively disciplined with your user covering the middle of the field for a moment, everything on this play is super well guarded and they can't throw it. And then if they run something completely different, which is probably the other most common route concept that people use from this set, if they run something like PA snag, as long as you're once again disciplined, you're actually going to see, you're going to be able to take away a large percentage of them. You can even switch stick and recover if anyone gets beat. So to set up match coverage against doubles and take away almost everything, simply just man up the tight end. It really is that simple, and you're gonna be able to cover 99% of 2x2, aka doubles route concepts. Madden is a game of 3s and 7. So in this section, I'm going to show you 2 easy red zone passing techniques guaranteed to get you those 7s. The first technique we're gonna be covering is hitches on the numbers, aka like a hitch crosser. It's really, really easy to run. All we're going to do is make sure that we have a slot receiver aligned almost exactly with the numbers. So when we put him on a curl and stem him all the way down, so he's basically a hitch, and put a crosser over him, so in this case, the tight end's on a crosser going over him, we know that that curl or hitch is going to hold any flat zones, allowing us to throw the crosser over him. It really is that simple. It's one of the simplest red zone route concepts in the game. This next concept I like to call the hitch comeback, because we're once again going to put a curl route on a receiver on the numbers on the short side of the field. This will also work to the long side if you can get a receiver on the numbers, of course. Stem him all the way down and then put a comeback outside of him. Now this will only work from the 7 and in, so keep this in mind. And what you're going to notice is when I snap the ball, that outside corner is going to pull inwards to go play the curl or the hitch, leaving the comeback open. So I'm going to snap the ball, he's going to pull inwards, and then you're just going to throw the easy comeback for an easy touchdown. It's a super simple concept, and 99% of zone defenses can't guard it. When you get to the goal line, the smartest thing you can do is run the football. So I'm going to show you a few simple methods and hidden techniques that make punching it in almost automatic. My first and favorite trick I like to use at the goal line is setting up goal line personnel. So what I like to do is, knowing goal line personnel is 3 tight ends and 2 running backs, I'll select a formation that I know beats goal line. So maybe strong close, maybe even a gun set, but I'll do strong close here because it has a stretch. And I'll actually put in 3 tight ends. So now what this actually allows me to do is I can come out in this play, and they can come out in something that counters stretch. But if they do, this actually allows me to audible to goal line. And one of the best runs in goal line, especially versus 4-down linemen, is HB Sting. It's just a good run. A lot of people make their blocks, and you're usually going to walk into the end zone. And then if you're at the 1 or 2 yard line, one of the coolest things you can do is against any 4-down line set, literally any, you can actually run QB sneak. So just make sure you go to goal line, and QB sneak is in your audibles. So if they are in a non-goal line set, like lots of people like 6-1 in this spot, you can actually just audible, and now you're in QB sneak, and you can just walk in and score from the 1 or the 2 yard line. And then the other cool thing is if they are in goal line, so let's say they're in a goal line 5-3, you can actually just run stretch against this. Goal line 5-3 is just not super good against, stretch runs in general. They lose leverage to the outside very quickly, and you're able to just run it on them, right? So a lot of people won't use that against you. But what they will use is something in between. They'll use goal line 6-2. But I would be lying if I said I didn't have something crazy for this. So if they are in a goal line 6-2, which does great versus stretch and does great versus a lot of the goal line runs, you can actually call QB sneak against this. But you can't do it on its own. So if I just call QB sneak, we're probably going to get tackled, right? Sucks, we get tackled, it doesn't work. And you're like, okay, what are you about to show? Well, if you actually run your QB sneak to the left and untarget the left defensive end, he's actually going to walk through and ignore the quarterback. As you can see, we just scored there. Because what happens is, when you untarget that defensive tackle, he actually just ignores your quarterback, and you can just walk in. So if you want to score in the red zone, I highly recommend coming out in a set with halfback stretch with goal line personnel and utilizing both stretch, QB sneak, and HB sting to end up walking in the end zone. Imagine shutting down every run before it even starts and doing it all without leaving your favorite defense. Well, you actually can, and I'm going to show you exactly how. We'll start with dime normal, since it represents every 4-down lineman defensive front, and then we'll cover dime 3-2, which applies to 3-down lineman sets. Now in dime normal, to shoot shotgun runs, what you're going to do is pinch your defensive line and crash them up. Then you're going to hover about over the center, and as soon as they snap the ball, you're going to be able to run in completely clean and tackle the running back. Just to show you it's consistent, we're going to do it once again. I like to hover a little bit towards the running back side just to make the hole even cleaner. And you can see it's a super easy tackle in the backfield every single time. Versus under center runs, it's the exact same setup, pinch and crash up, and then run right through the middle and go and tackle the running back. The faster you run through the middle, the more likely you're going to be able to hit him in the backfield. So I actually like to user lock here as well, left on the D-pad, right bumper, and then I'll hold the left stick down and R2, so when they do run the ball, we can run in completely clean and sometimes even beat the defensive tackle. So once again, hover over the center, user lock, hold R2, and then run straight through that line and get that diving tackle animation, stopping the runs in the backfield. No, it's the exact same setup for stretch runs. Simply pinch your defensive line and then hover directly over this defensive tackle. Then just loop into the gap where you expect the run to be, and you're going to be able to make that tackle in the backfield consistently, whether it's to the right or to the left. So for example, if they run it to the left here, once again, hover over that defensive tackle, and then just loop into the gap, dive in, and make the tackle in the backfield. Super, super easy. And that's pretty much how you stop every run in the game from almost any set in the game. To shoot any shotgun run from 3-down lineman sets like dollar, just pinch your defensive line and hover over the defensive tackle like this. You're going to be completely untargeted, and you can come right in the backfield and shoot the run with ease. For this last tip, I'm going to show you how to get insane pass rush, only sending 2 people. So to do this and actually get sheds, you have to send 2 people off the same side of the field. That is, you can't just send 2 defensive tackles or 2 defensive ends, because they're going to get double teamed and your opponent's going to have unlimited time in the pocket. So instead, we're going to send a defensive tackle and defensive end on the same side. So in this case, I'm just going to send them off the right side, or the left side, my apologies this time. And you're going to see Khalil Mack's going to get that one-on-one. He instantly wins it, and now they have no time, and we only sent 2 people. Now this is the same case if we send it off the right. Send that defensive tackle and that defensive end, and you're going to see as long as that defensive end gets a one-on-one, he has a chance of winning. Once again, you see the defensive end not as good there, but still was able to win his one-on-one interaction. So that's how you send 2 and get really good sheds and pretty much boost your coverage, because you'll have 9 people in coverage. So sending 2 is really insane, and that's exactly how to do it. Now that you've learned how to get good, it's time to be great. So select one of the videos on screen to up your offensive or defensive game.